Okay, good morning. Hope you guys are having a great start to your day. At this point, you should have your homework out. That was on pages 206 to 207, numbers 15 to 28 all, and 30 to 34 all. It was over compound inequalities. At any point, if you need the video stopped, please ask the sub and he will stop it. So, problem number 15. On problem number 15, it said the Earth's atmosphere is made up of several layers. A layer called a stratosphere extends from about 16 meters above Earth's surface to 50 meters above the Earth's surface. So write a compound inequality to show the altitudes that are within the range. Graph the solutions. So if I let k, and you could let that be any letter, if I let k be the distance from Earth, it's saying that that this layer is anywhere from 16 kilometers to 50 kilometers. So it's between 16 and 15, or 50 rather. So k, or x, or whatever you let your variable be, is between 16 and 50. So 16 is less than or equal to k, which is less than or equal to 50. Keep in mind on these, when you have a compound inequality that's an and, your signs have to go the same way. You should always put your lower bound at your left, the upper bound at the right, variable in the middle, and then your signs will always go in the less than direction. So it is everything between 16 and 50 inclusive. All right, the next group said solve each compound inequality and graph the solutions. So number 16, again, remember you're asking what do I need to do to get x by itself? I need to get rid of this plus 1, so I'm going to subtract 1. But when you subtract 1, you have to do it from all three parts. So on number 16, subtract 1 from all three parts. You get negative 2 is less than x, which is less than 0. So x is everything between negative 2 and 0, but not including negative 2 and 0. Number 17, same thing, got to get n by itself. First thing I need to do is move that 5. So I add 5, but I have to add 5 to all three parts. When I do, I get 6 is less than or equal to 2n, which is less than or equal to 12. Divide by 2. 3 is less than or equal to n, which is less than or equal to 6. So in this case, n is everything between 3 and 6. Okay. Number 18, same thing. You got x minus 2, so you got to get that minus 2 away. So add 2 to all three parts. You get 0 is less than x, which is less than 4. Open circle at 0, open circle at 4, everything in between. And number 19, I had to add 1 to all three sides. I get 6 is less than 3x, which is less than 18. Divide everything by 3. 2 is less than x, which is less than 6. So it's everything between 2 and 6, but not including them. Okay, number 20 started our OR compound inequalities. ORs are really easy. You just solve the first inequality, solve the second inequality, and put an OR in between them. So this first one I would add 4 to both sides, and this one I would subtract 3 from both sides to get an answer of x is less than negative 3 or x is greater than 1. So ORs go in opposite directions. Okay, this one I'm going to subtract 1 and then divide by 2. Over here I just subtract 5. So I get that x is less than 0 or x is greater than 3. 22. Subtract 1 from this side, subtract 5 from that side, I get x is less than 1 or x is greater than 3. Open circle at 1, open circle at 3, and in opposite directions. And the last one in this group, x plus 3 is less than 0, so I subtracted 3. X minus 2 is greater than 0, so I added 2. When I did, I got x is less than negative 3 or x is greater than 2. So I have an open circle at negative 3, arrow to the left, open circle at 2, arrow to the right. The next group asked you to write the compound inequality that is shown by the graph. Remember, 24 and 25 are going in opposite directions, so these are OR inequalities. Both of these are OR. It's going this way or that way. These two are AND inequalities and will require us to write a single compound inequality. So let's look at 24 first. This piece of the graph, x is less than 0, or this piece of the graph, x is greater than 5. 25, x is less than 0, or x is greater than or equal to 2. Now I said X, my book used P for the first one and Q for the second one. You could use any letter that you wanted. Okay, 26. Everything at X is everything between -6 and 5. So I would put -6, 5, put my variable in the middle. Now, this does not include -6. This does include 5. So it's everything between -6 and 5. Your lower bound goes on the left, upper bound on the right, X in the middle. And you could use whatever variable you wanted. Over here, my lower bound is -2, my upper bound is 1, X goes in the middle. It does not include -2, sorry, and it does not include 1. So there's your inequality for that one. Now on these, it's important to understand that this piece over here says that X is less than 1, and that makes sense. And over here it says -2 is less than X, but remember backwards, that means X is greater than -2, so that did work. Okay, 28, we were talking about an acoustic guitar, and it's considered to be in concert pitch if the range of frequencies is between 82.4 and 659.2. So write a compound inequality to show the frequencies that are within range of a typical acoustic guitar and graph the solutions. Well, they're telling you it's between. So once again, we have a lower bound of 82.4. We have an upper bound of 659.2. We can use whatever letter we want. So I think my book used F for frequency. And it has to be less than or equal to that or greater than or equal to that. Because remember, 82.4 is less than or equal to F. F is really greater than or equal to 82.4. Solid circle at 82.4, solid circle at 659.2, and connect them. Okay, write and graphic inequality that describes each of these. And it says all numbers between -6 and 6. So all of the numbers between -6 and 6. So includes 6, includes -6. I'll show you the graph of that one in a minute. 31 is all real numbers less than or equal to 2. So it has to be smaller than or equal to 2 and bigger than 1, greater than or equal to 1. So for this one, for 31, I said, okay, it has to be less than or equal to 2 and greater than or equal to 1, or 1 has to be less than or equal to X. So basically, X is everything between 1 and 2. So for both of these graphs, for 30, oh, I missed that. It's all between, not including. My fault. Okay, so on this one, it should just be less than, not less than or equal to, because it doesn't say it's inclusive. My apologies on that. So it should be less than and less than, because they're saying it's all numbers between those, not including those. I think that's kind of wordy. So open, open, connect. This one's solid, solid, and connect. Okay, the next one, number 32. Number 32 says all real numbers greater than 0 and less than 15. So that means the numbers between 0 and 15. So X is all numbers between 0 and 15, not including them. Now 33 says we want all real numbers between -10 and 10 inclusive. That means, okay, we want to include -10, we want to include 10, so there's where your less than or equal to's come into play. Okay, and then the last one says the cruise control on Georgina's car should be kept within 3 miles per hour of the speed limit, of the set speed. Sorry, write a compound inequality to show the acceptable speeds S if you travel 55 miles an hour. Well, think about this. If you're going 55 miles an hour, it has to be within 3. So it can be +3 and it can be -3. So if you add 3, you get 58. If you subtract 3, you get 52. And your speed has to be everything between those two measures. So that's where we got 52 is less than or equal to S, which is less than or equal to 58. So we can solid circle that, and they're saying your car's cruise control will keep you anywhere from 52 to 58. Okay, if you need to pause the video, you can, but what I'd like you guys to do is turn your homework over or somewhere on the corner edge of your homework. I'm going to give you 3 problems to think about, and you guys can work on them and then restart the video. So the first one says, which of the following is a solution to x plus 3 is less than 9 and x plus 5 is greater than or equal to 5. So if you want to pause the video, give a few minutes to work on this, not even, maybe a minute at most, and then we'll come back and talk about the solution. Okay, so when you did this, you should have had time to work on it when you restarted the video. Now we have x plus 3 has to be less than 9. So to solve this, I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. When I do, I get x is less than 6. So we know our solution has to be less than 6. So I'm going to come up here and cross out any number that's not less than 6. So 8 is not less than 6. And 6 is not less than 6. It's equal to 6, but it is not less than, so I can cross that one off. And then and is very important. That means that both of these has to be true. We have x plus 5 is greater than or equal to 5. So to solve this, get x by itself, subtract 5 from both sides, you get x is greater than or equal to 0. So if there's anything that's not greater than or equal to 0, we need to cross that off. Well, negative 1 is not greater than or equal to 0, so we're going to cross that off. So the only solution would be A. Okay, there's going to be one similar to that on the test, so I wanted to make sure we reviewed it. Okay, and then the last couple ones here is on page 199, 52 to 55. You can either get your book out and start doing them and pause the video, or I can show you one at a time and then you can pause it and then I'll do it and so forth. So go ahead, pause the video, and then we'll go over it in a few minutes. Okay, so we have 4 more than twice a number is greater than 2/3 the number. So first thing is 4 more than twice a number. You guys struggled with twice a number on your test. 4 more than twice a number. 2x plus 4. Now if you have 4 plus 2x, that's the same thing. But for less than, it's not. So I like to write it this way. 4 more than twice a number. Now here's your inequality sign. Is greater than 2/3 of the number. Remember, of means to multiply. So 2/3 of the number. So here's your inequality. It says to write an inequality, and we did that. And now you need to solve it, and the way you're going to solve this is to get all the x's on one side. So we can't move this guy, even though he's the little guy, because then we leave this side with nothing. So I'm going to subtract 2x, and when I subtract 2x, I get 4 is greater than negative 4/3 x. Now some of you might have negative 1 1/3. That's the same thing. Now at this point you have some options. Some of you will choose to divide by negative 4/3. Some of you will multiply by the reciprocal. It does not matter. You can do either way. But either way, I multiplied each side by a negative, or I divided each side by a negative, so I must flip that sign. I get negative 3 is less than x. I don't think it says to graph, does it? Nope, we're good. Okay, the next one, I'll give you a minute to work on that one, and then we'll go over it. So 10 less than 5 times a number is less than 6 times the number decreased by 8. So still with these, you guys have got to get better doing these. 10 less than 5 times a number. 10 less than 5 times a number. 10 less than 5 times a number is less than 6 times the number decreased by 8. So here is your inequality once again. So to solve it, you ask yourself, can I do anything to the left side to simplify it? Nope. Can I simplify the right side? Nope. So I'm going to subtract 5x. I'm going to move all my x's to one side, and I chose to get rid of the little guy. When I did, I was left with negative 10 is less than 1x minus 8. Add 8. Add 8. Negative 2 is less than 1x, which is the same as x. Or some of you might have x is bigger than negative 2. Either way is fine. Okay. That was 53. 54. Get started on it. Okay, the sum of a number and 20. Sum means to add. The sum of a number and 20 is less than 4 times the number decreased by 1. 4 times the number decreased by 1. So here's your inequality. So to solve this, once again, can't simplify the left side, can't simplify the right side, so I'm going to move the little guy. I'm going to do that by subtracting an x. When I do, I get 20 is less than 3x minus 1. Then I'm going to add 1. I get 21 is greater than 3x. Divide by 3. And 7 is less than x. Now you might have 7 is greater than x. I'm sorry, x is greater than 7. That's the same thing. So you can have 7 is less than x, or you might have it written x is greater than 7. Now this is not a compound inequality. I'm just writing the answer two different ways. Okay, last one. 3/4 of a number, of means to multiply, of a number, is greater than or equal to, 5 less than the number, x minus 5. 5 less than the number, x minus 5. Okay, to solve this one, we can't simplify the left side, can't simplify the right side. I cannot move the 3/4 x because that would leave this side with nothing, so I'm going to subtract an x. When I subtract an x, I'm left with negative 1/4 x is greater than or equal to negative 5. Now, I can do one of two things here. I can divide by negative 1/4, or I can multiply by the reciprocal. It does not matter. You can do it either way. So you can either divide by negative 1/4 or multiply by the reciprocal. But in either case, I either divided by a negative or multiplied by a negative, so I have to flip that sign, and I get x is less than, and this should give you positive 20. A negative times a negative is a positive. Okay. All right, so that's all we have for today. The rest of class time is going to be spent working on that practice test. So please make sure when you're doing your practice test, all work and answers on a separate sheet of paper. The only thing you can put on the practice test is your name. And if you want to graph the ones that I provided number lines for, you can graph those on there, but that's it. No work on either sides of that practice test. There are two sides. Make sure you do both of them. And your test will be on Thursday. So have a super afternoon.